can this window stay open for the Golden State Warriors and competing for championships?
I mean, I feel like it's wide open at least for the next few years. I think they've done a great job of combining these. I think we've talked about it, a few times on here before with the younger guys coming up, just scratching the surface of their potential. And then on the opposite side, you have the veterans with all the experience, and they're still, kind of in the tail end of their prime. So I feel like they have another couple years at least to try and compete for it. It depends on a few things. We got to see how Clay comes back. I think Wiseman's growth is probably the biggest unknown really in the whole organization. Um, but if a few things break their way, I think they can win another one.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a pretty basic question to start it off. How long is Steph still Steph? As long as Steph Curry is still Steph Curry, the Warriors will have a real. They'll be competing for a title. So I think you start there. I think it depends on a number of factors. In 5 years, what does Jonathan Kuminga look like? Jordan Poole, Moses Moody, even a James Wiseman. How many of those guys are they able to retain?
Yeah.
Because I mean, if we're being real with ourselves, Andrew Wiggins probably won't be on this roster too much longer. He's gonna be up for a really big payday. They're gonna have to make some choices, or the luxury tax bill that the Warriors are gonna have to pay will be absolutely astronomical.
500. It's going to be, I think it's 500.
Yeah, exactly. In the $400-500 million range. Joe Lacob has already said, like, has more or less already said my money is long, but it's not that long. So, yeah, like they're gonna have to make some choices. I mean, I think it's tough to be really precise with this stuff because, things in the league just change on a dime. And there are very few things that stay constant over such an extended period of time, which is why what they've done to this point in the last 8 years has been so impressive. It's basically just been the Warriors being excellent and LeBron James being LeBron James, and almost everything else has been changed since then. I mean, I know I'm getting a little off topic here, but like, how many people thought that LeBron James would still be like LeBron after the KD Warriors after say we were in 2015, you thought LeBron would still be like LeBron in 2020 and 2021. That's crazy. But if you're making me put a number on it, I'll say another 3 years. And then I do think that, at that point, we're going to be talking about, Steph will be, 37, Draymond is going to be pretty old. Clay's getting up there in age, and we already know he's got a fair amount of injuries. Those are going to be probably affect the aging process. And I think some of the young guys will probably not be on that roster. Wouldn't surprise me if Jordan Poole was elsewhere. I don't think Andrew Wiggins will still be there. And then, we'll kind of go from there. But
I actually think that the Warriors, they will bring their roster back for next year. I do think Wiggins will sign a contract. I also think Poole will sign a contract.
You think Wiggins and Poole will be on the roster going into 2024?
That's that.
Because I think that's the real question.
That is the real question, but I do think Wiggins has one more year left on his deal.
They both do, I think, right?
They both do. They both can sign a contract this offseason. It's going to be interesting. I do think they get it done. I do think they both want to be in Golden State, competing for championships. And to your point, Tunde, about Lacob has expressed that he's willing to go deep into his pockets to keep this roster together. He has no problem paying the hefty luxury tax that will come with this team. I believe they have the second highest payroll in the league, and I forgot who was number one, but I'm like, how? Just keeping this team together, it costs money. But the reward for it is winning championships. So I do think that Steph and this core have at least another 4 or 5 years. I think he has another 4 or 5 years at his prime, at his apex. I do think that they can win 2 more chips. Like, I think it's feasible to Steph ends his career with like 6 rings. And then we will have another conversation if that's the case. But sticking to what we know right now, 4 chips, and the more like we know that this is going to be impact next year. I think they have a good chance of running it back. I don't see any team feasibly in the Western Conference that I don't think that they can beat. The only caveat that I would throw out there is the Clippers. The Clippers, if they can get healthy, if they can stay together, they are a dangerous team. They always had the pieces. It's about them being healthy and gelling and playing together. But other than that, I don't think any team out west you could definitively say will beat the Warriors in a 7-game series. I wouldn't bet my money on it. And then when you go out when you look at the East, I mean, obviously you're going to have Milwaukee, you're going to have Philadelphia, and James Harden, who's a changed man all of a sudden. And Boston is still there. I'm not really a believer in Miami, but Miami is going to float at the top of the Eastern Conference. So I think it's still up for the taking. I mean, we're the Golden State are the champions right now. I think they have a good shot at running it back. And will this team be together? I think it will be. I mean, will Andrew Wiggins still be there? I think he will be. They lost Porter. They lost GP2. To me, was a big hit, but they did, was able to pick up. I'm going to butcher his name, so I'm not even going to say it. Dude from the Bucks. They were able to pick him up. Yeah, I was going to butcher his last name, so I was like, I'm not going to say it.
I think he's going to be a pretty good fit there.
And there are talks that they might be when he get cleared, JaMychal Green will be added to this roster.
You're talking about DiVincenzo, or
yeah.
All right,
yeah. So I mean, it's addition by subtraction. I think they're going to be good role players for Golden State, and I think Golden State, with their nucleus that they already have, with the bench that they have, with all of the young assets, Wiseman, Poole, all of those young and developed players, and Wiseman's looking like a beast in the summer league early on. But
I'm sorry, I just got to push back a little bit on that. I understand that.
I use him loosely. I'm not saying he's like guys. I'm just saying he's looking good in some.
I understand. No. But I understand there were like some really not. There were some nice flashes with Wiseman. Mm-hmm. He also committed 7 fouls in 19 minutes of play, and like that, completely glossed over.
The only thing that I'm putting in contrast, I'm looking at the personnel who you're playing with. You're playing with Steph. You're playing with Clay. You're playing with Dre. Those guys are going to teach you the game. They're going to teach him how to play their style of basketball. So all of those idiotic fouls and all that stuff, that's not going to happen when it comes time to actual games being played, to me. Because I think Draymond Green is going to be all up in him. I think all the veterans are going to be all up in him, and he's going to be able to learn the style. We have to remember that this guy really hasn't played on NBA level. Like,
he was really played, and he didn't really play in college either.
He didn't really play in college. He hasn't really played basketball in a long time. Like, the meaningful basketball, so I mean, of course he's going to commit 7 fouls in 19 minutes. He hasn't really played on this level yet, but I think when he get with those guys, they're going to make him better. Now, if this is any other team, I'm like, okay, maybe this guy is not, but he's with guys that are proven champions. Obviously they're champions, but I think they can make him better. And I'm sporting my Klay Thompson jersey right now because I respect you, Klay. But I think that this team has a good chance of winning next year, and I think they can tee off at least 2 more in the next 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, my only point there about James Wiseman is just like, so I mean, I don't think I've been shy that I'm a lot lower on James Wiseman than most people are, like, for what the actual ceiling is compared to like what his perceived ceiling is. I just think, for me, even if you think his ceiling is, I don't know, some of the names I've been heard thrown out there, a Tim Duncan type player.
No.
or a Chris Bosh type player. I've heard some crazy shit.
They just be throwing out wild shit.
Yeah, I see
Tim Duncan. Like,
I see
who's
Hassan
screaming
Whiteside.
at you? Like, don't say Tim Duncan, man. Like,
Yeah.
come on. Not
Like,
you. I'm just saying, like,
yeah. I see Hassan Whiteside, which is a fine NBA player. Just adjust your expectations.
I can see that, but I'm saying Hassan, he hasn't really been, other than being with Miami, they're very tough. Obviously, we know they're tough on their players, but he's in a culture. Like we can't undervalue Golden State's culture. Like their culture makes people want to play their brand of basketball. So you cannot undervalue that.
The culture is great, but you also need to be a good basketball player. People said this same stuff with Jordan Bell, and Jordan Bell didn't magically turn into six-time Draymond with a 40-inch vertical. It doesn't. You won't magically become, transform into the best possible version of yourself.
But he's not going to start. Like I'm saying, this is a bench piece. Like he's going to play with those young guys. They're going to be able to make stupid mistakes. He's not going to play with these young veterans, but those veterans are going to be able to be in practice with him every single day to teach him the ropes. And go ahead.
Sure, absolutely. My thing is just he is a miss. Like I already wasn't as high on him as everybody else was. He's missed so much development time. Put it this way. James Wiseman is on his first contract. If you believe in his ceiling and believe he's going to reach astronomical heights and believe he's going to be a star in the NBA,
all that now.
Be a high level defender, I'm not saying you're saying that, but
Okay.
like if you believe those
nice
things,
role piece.
Sure, yeah, I think he can absolutely be that. But like if you believe in his high end potential, that's not coming until his second contract. We already went over the luxury tax stuff. There's a very real chance that second contract doesn't come with the Golden State Warriors. That's all.
I just think that the Golden State, last word here, before we move on, I just think the Golden State Warriors are good at figuring stuff out. That totally. People, a lot of people say, this roster, like it ain't gonna work with Wiggins, and they have this high payroll. Someone's gonna have to go. They said that last year. They ended up having the roster that they have, winning the championship. So, in the day, people say this about Golden State every single year, and that can they keep this team together? Can they keep the nucleus together? And the thing is, when they lose pieces, they find comfortable pieces to put in their place, and it's like nothing changes. Like because you have the core intact, you have the management top to bottom. They are an A-class organization. So when you have that and when you have that, you have a new player that you have to develop, they're going to buy into the culture. They're going to see how unselfish Steph is. Like, and they're going to buy in. If your best player is being that selfish, come on, he let Kevin Durant join his team. How unselfish can you be? Like, you just let another great player join your team. Like, that just shows how unselfish he is as a superstar. So I think them new players coming to the teams, knowing that, okay, he's going to be willing to, sacrifice and be open, like transparency. Like Golden State is that organization that I think every NBA team strives to be, but a lot of players are not like that. Like, so I think that's the difference. Like they're an A-class organization, and I think all of those pieces, like those young assets, there's a mixture of new and old, and it's going to be fun to watch next season to see the growth of Jordan Poole. He's going to take another step to me. Andrew Wiggins to me is going to take another step, and then that team is going to be dangerous. I don't know. Like that team's going to be forceful and reckon. I'm just saying. Like,
yeah, I mean, I think you're generally right, but for a player to step in and take what Golden State gives, they still need to be able and willing to. And I mean, Wiseman hasn't had the chance to, but he also hasn't proven that yet. So I just need to see it. I'm not even sure that he's going to end up, being better than Kevon Looney. And maybe they'll be
right. Looney's pretty good.
No, he is, and maybe they don't even need him to be. Maybe he can be the backup center for a long term. But it does seem like a lot of people are kind of expecting Wiseman to take a huge step, and I'm not sure it's coming.
I think it's baby steps. I don't expect him to take a leap into being all of this, they make to the championship that he's going to be able to close lineups. Like, no,
Yeah.
I think he's going to be a valuable piece on their bench. He's going to be able to come in and contribute 15 to 20 minutes. He's going to give you 6 fouls. He's going to be able to give, how I think about it is, how can I maximize Steph, Clay, and Dre during the season when it's a long season? How can I maximize rest? Oh, I have Wiseman. He can give you 15, 20 minutes. He can give you 6 fouls. You could rest Draymond Green. That's how I think about it. Because we're not expecting him to be a difference maker. We're expecting him to be a plug and play. We're expecting him to go out there, go ahead and do a couple layups, do whatever you're going to do. You're sparing us time for Draymond. That's how you have to look at it if I'm Golden State. Like, he's going to give us 20 minutes. That's 20 minutes that Draymond Green will have to play. Or he's going to play 41 games. Maybe we can rest Draymond Green and Kevon Looney a couple of those games. Like, so that's when you're Golden State, I promise you Golden State is looking at it like that. Like, oh, we can use him throughout this season. He's young as hell. Like, he can run, he could play back-to-backs. Like, Steph Curry don't want to play no back-to-back. Like, I bet LeBron James and these players don't want to play no back-to-back. They getting older, But all these young legs, they can go out there and play these back-to-backs. And maybe I could slip in a rest for Draymond Green. So, I mean, that's how I look at it. Like, I'm like,
I hear I definitely hear what you're saying there about the young legs, but he is also coming off of like a year and a half of
I think that's gonna be a major factor. But there's gonna be a lot of Golden State talk come next season, 2022, 2023 season.
One more question real quick before we move off the Warriors. So you said you think they have a shot to win, I think you said 2 more, right, Danny, in the next few years?
For the next 2, they have a chance to win 2 out of the next 5 championships too.
Okay, so let's put their over under at 1 more championship for this core. Where are you guys going with that?
Push.
Danny, push. You think they get 1 more, but no more than that?
I'm going. Are we talking next 5 years? Are we talking about this?
I'm going to say under.
Just this core for the rest of their career.
Over.
Under.
You're going over 1. You're going under 1.
I'm going over. I think they win more than 1 more ring.
What'd you say?
I think they win. They win more than 1 more ring.
Okay. I think I'll probably go 1.
Probably go 1. Push. That's fair. You are listening to the Spoken Truth podcast live on YouTube as we recap the conclusion of the NBA season. Welcome back to the Spoken Truth podcast live on YouTube. Let's get into some obviously dominating the headlines right now in the offseason of the NBA. Kevin Durant and free agency, 2 words that we never thought we would hear again, obviously, cough, cough. But Kevin Durant has asked to be traded from Brooklyn, and it hasn't happened yet. It's been about 2 to 3 weeks now. What do we see the future of Kevin Durant and Kyrie? What are we thinking these 2 will end up once the start of the new season? Do we have any ideas?
The scenario is that they're both still in Brooklyn at this point. Yeah.
So do you think Kyrie? Do you think Brooklyn brings back that core? Like, do you think Brooklyn brings back both of those players?
I mean, I think that's what it looks like. Kyrie Irving is on an expiring anyway, so like, you get your season and then you go from there and just figure out what happens. KD has a 4-year extension. Like the tough part for any potential KD trade is that the asking price that Brooklyn has is essentially takes you out of being a contender. And if you're trading for Kevin Durant, you're trading for Kevin Durant with the mindset and the expectation of contending. It kind of defeats the purpose. It's a really hard deal to get done because I don't think Brooklyn can really get back whatever appropriate value for Kevin Durant would be. I just don't see how it happens.
No, I think you're right. I mean, obviously the Nets, their plan and what they want to happen is to hold on to those guys, convince them, run it back. We'll try and win next season. We'll see where Kyrie is at in a year. Tunde, like you said, KD has 4 years left on his deal, so that hurts a lot of his leverage. But I think a lot of it comes down to the fact that they don't have a deal that they think, would be enough for Durant. I mean, teams like, the Heat and Phoenix, who were on his preferred destinations list, I don't think they really have deals that would really get it done for the Nets. I mean, especially not being able to include Bam Adebayo or DeAndre Ayton now. And then, teams like, I feel like the Pelicans, the Raptors, a couple teams like that, I feel like they probably would have enough to get it done if they really wanted to. But then you would have to part ways with Brandon Ingram, or Scotty Barnes. And it seems like they don't want to have to, gut their entire future to give up, Kevin Durant, which who knows if he even really wants to be there long term. So, I don't know, like it seems like with the way it's headed that he could very well be on the Nets roster, opening night. But I don't know. I haven't heard Kevin Durant say that, he's willing to do that. So it still seems like he's kind of standing firm in the fact that he would like to be traded.
I'm so done trying to figure out what Kevin Durant wants to do.
Yeah.
This guy is a walking contradiction. Like you don't know how he feels at any given time. My suggestion or what I would think will happen is I think he will eventually end up in Brooklyn, because we saw what Rudy got, and no team is going to gut their team to give up those assets. And if they do be able to get Kevin Durant, the team he's going to go on is not going to be a championship level team.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard for Brooklyn to make that type of move. And to be honest, I think Brooklyn, they're going to play hardball. I think Brooklyn's like, hey, you got 4 years left on your deal. Like,
as they should.
As they should, yeah. You got 4 years left on your deal. You need to honor like at least 2 years of this contract, this new contract. I do think Kyrie will end up being a Los Angeles Laker. That's one thing that I am 99% sure about. I think Kyrie will end up in LA. I was texting you guys in a group chat, I think it was a couple weeks ago, and I was talking about Kyrie potentially going to LA in exchange for Westbrook going to San Antonio. San Antonio to me is the only logical, realistic team that I think will take on an expiring contract for Westbrook because of the draft compensation that they would get back in return. I don't think any other team will take Westbrook as a standalone without the compensation and the draft picks that the Lakers will have to give up. So it becomes a tricky situation. But I do think eventually it will get done. I do think Brooklyn needs a third team. LA needs a third team to make it work. It can't be a straight up swap between the two. The money just doesn't work. And I don't think, guys, I mean, are we seeing the end of Russell Westbrook as a, like,
I think that started a couple years ago.
Who's going to give him a contract after this year? Like, I'm very curious what happens after this year.
He'll get a contract.
Somebody will.
So he'll get a contract. It's not going to be, it's not going to be what it's been, but he'll get a contract. It's just, look, the season he played in Houston, okay to start the season. They make the trade, ship Clint Capella out to Atlanta, embrace the micro ball strategy, kind of employ PJ Tucker as a small ball five. That was the best basketball that Russ had played in his career. He is traded to Washington. He starts the season off with the calf injury, mixed results. The second half of that season, Russell Westbrook played at an all-NBA level and got them into the playoffs. Him looking, like he did last year was such a sharp drop off from what we had seen in years past, even with there being mixed results. And to be clear, LA did not set him up for success with the roster.
That's fair.
Like, there wasn't a ton of spacing, but there isn't a ton of spacing, but he's also smoking right hand. He's also smoking layups with his strong hand, night in and night out. Reportedly, they said they went and got his hand checked because they were like, "What the fuck is going on? This can't." They were like, "This can't be. This can't be the max player we traded for." Yeah, like, and the part that's really tough is that reportedly Russell Westbrook is more or less taking no accountability for anything that happened last year. And if you listen to his exit interview at the end of last season, I believe those reports because he went in that interview and was like, "Yeah, well, glad Frank is gone. Now all the problems have
He
left."
doesn't take any responsibility for his play. Like
He was
played awful. Like
he was damn near shooting the ball off the shot clock. What do you mean? Why? What was Frank Vogel's problem with you? You refused to make defensive rotation. He committed 59. You know the take fouls that the league is now making more stringent penalties against. So Russell Westbrook committed more take fouls in the league last year than any other player. 59 take fouls last year. And as somebody who watched a lot of Lakers games, even the non-nationally televised ones, I can tell you that most of those take fouls were after Russell Westbrook turnovers.
Yeah,
I believe, yeah.
Him not, and it's just like it's instead of like, all right, let's play defense and and let's play defense and get a stop. I'm gonna foul this guy out of frustration. Like,
what's the problem though? Like, is it just that he can't adjust to this style of like basketball anymore? What's changed from like Westbrook in Houston, Westbrook in OKC? Like, what is the drop off between even Westbrook with the Wizards? Like, what is the difference between now and then? Like then and now?
It looks like he's lost half a step, and for somebody who's never been a great perimeter shooter, but has declined as a perimeter shooter in years past. And over the past few years, and has never been a guy with an in-between game or a floater who relies on getting all the way to the rim and scoring there. When you struggle to shoot from the perimeter and you can't get into an effective floater game, push shot, in between stuff, your scoring package relies a lot on you getting all the way to the rim. So that's where he's at. Like the fact that he might be, I don't know, 5-10% less athletic makes the other flaws that were in his scoring package a lot more apparent. And then like for all of the stuff that there's always that he's always kind of been somebody who prides himself and kind of publicly talks about himself as I compete every night, I come out with energy, He hasn't played defense for like a decade now. And that was also something that is readily apparent when you watch him, not just last year, but in general. But it was really readily apparent last year. He would just consistently blow rotations that were very clearly his. And reportedly, when he would be called out about it in film sessions, he would be very defensive. So like, yeah, what are you supposed to do with that? He's not a superstar anymore, but he wants, to be treated like a superstar. He wants to be treated a certain way, and not, it seems like he wants it both ways, where he wants no criticism
and all of the praise and adulation
and nothing but praise, but also isn't playing well enough to be warranting any of it. So,
right.
Anyways, Chaz, please talk so I don't take this whole time.
No, I mean, Russ has never been, a great perimeter shooter. Like you said, he hasn't been good on defense, or taking care of the ball, in a while. But I feel like the main thing is just his inability to kind of fit in. I mean, he's always been such a high usage guy, primary ball handler, running the show type of guy, that I feel like only in Houston for that stretch from what was it, like February to the end of the season in the bubble, that was the only stretch where he was really in a different position than he's ever played before and excelled at it. He had a chance to do that last year and failed miserably. So now I feel like the Lakers, to me, they just have to do whatever it takes to get off of that contract. I mean, we already saw this is not a winning formula. Maybe Westbrook can regain some of that somewhere else in a different place, have a fresh start, and, be kind of more of that player that we're used to seeing, but we're never going to see that, him do that on a winning team, not in my opinion. So I feel like, if you're the Lakers, you want to win a championship, obviously with LeBron, AD next year, you only have a couple years left in this window, then I feel like you have to do whatever it takes to get off of Westbrook's deal.
And I think it's fair because I think all of us want Westbrook to be great or see that player that we once saw. To a point, I almost think that they're better just sending him home, and just going with LeBron and Anthony Davis next year. Because
opposed to trying to trade for Kyrie.
I mean, to the point where I think it will eventually happen, but if for some reason it doesn't, I think they're better off just sending Westbrook home and just going with LeBron and Anthony Davis, because you don't have to deal with all of the other problems and the nuances that come along with. Are we going to bench Westbrook today? Are we not going to bench him? Is he happy today? Is he not? I mean, what is minutes looking like? Are we going to take some minutes away from him? It's just so much. And obviously, when you're a superstar, you want to still believe that you're on that level of a superstar. But he hasn't been on a level in so long that he hasn't realized, and you guys said it earlier, he hasn't realized that he's not that guy anymore. He never was the number one option, but he most of the time he was a second, but he's not that. Oh, in Houston. Well, you say he was the number one option?
In OKC, he was after KD left.
Oh, yeah. He was there for a couple of years. But when he was with another main key guy, when they actually had a chance to winning the title, with OKC, he was the number one guy. Yeah. And Los Angeles, clearly, he's not even the second. He's maybe, if he shouldn't even be the third option, honestly, but he's the third option. But I don't know. I just think it's very fascinating to see what the Lakers are going to do come next season, because this team, like the team that they have, the Lakers are cash strapped, by the way. I'm sure we all know that, but they don't really have a lot of maneuverability to be doing. But at some point in time, if they don't make this, they can't make any alternative moves, but this can be a huge move that they make that can actually change the projection of their team without having to give up valuable assets right away, right now. I know there's been reports that Jenny doesn't want to give up her future, but you already gave up your future by getting Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis is your future. Anthony Davis is still young. How much more future do you need? Anthony Davis is still in his 20s. That is your future. I'm not understanding where Jeanie Buss is coming from.
I feel like just from what I kind of see, I feel like Jeanie Buss is reluctant because of the Russell Westbrook disaster. It seems like now she's hesitant to make a deal this year. But she keeps talking about, and first of all, this is we don't know if these are her exact words, so we're not putting her on record, but reports are saying that she's unwillingly to give up future round picks in a trade for Kyrie Irving.
Yeah, well, when we're talking about Rob Pelinka here, Jeannie's the owner, Rob is the head of person.
But it's coming from her though. She's reluctant to make the move. Yeah,
she has.
If it was up to Rob Pelinka probably already made the move by now.
No, I think he's hesitant to attach both first round picks too.
You think he is too?
I think he is, because I think.
Why is you reluctant if Anthony Davis is your future? He is your future. He's still young.
I agree with you. To me, I would have attached both of those and the pick swap, if that needed to be done to get Kyrie, but they seem, obviously much more hesitant to do so.
The Westbrook situation is completely untenable. They have to get off that contract.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, personally, if it was me, I'd probably have said fuck it and given the second pick. Reportedly, Indiana is willing to talk about a potential trade centered around Russell Westbrook, with the Lakers getting back Miles Turner and Buddy Hield. Yeah. So I mean, that's definitely an avenue worth exploring.
And I heard Jeanie preferred that route. What do you guys think of that?
And Kyrie?
Yeah.
I mean, because from just a pure basketball perspective, Kyrie Irving is a perfect fit on the Lakers roster.
Absolutely. I mean, They would be in the conference finals next year if Kyrie's on that team. To
when
me,
you factor in the everything else
with health, I'm sorry, with health caveat.
Right, with that. When you factor in like the everything else, though, I can completely understand why you might be, tempted to just go with Buddy Hield and Miles Turner. Miles Turner would offer a lot to the Lakers roster. He'd give them another stretch big to go along with Thomas Bryant. He'd allow if Miles Turner's on the roster, Anthony Davis probably doesn't have to play center, and they get spacing, which is probably makes everybody happy. And then obviously that's to say nothing less of Buddy Hield, who theoretically is a perfect fit, next to LeBron James, somebody who's a movement shooter, somebody who also has the ability to get his own bucket. Not a good defender, but you'll live with that. At this point, it just can't be Russell Westbrook.
Absolutely. I think, and I want to go back to what I said a little while ago, but I think Kyrie Irving on the Lakers makes the Lakers a top 3 team in the Western Conference. Right now, I don't even think they're a playoff team presently constructed. I think they missed the playoff again. But I will have them right behind the Warriors, right behind the Clippers. They will be that 3rd team in the Western Conference if they were able to get Kyrie. But I don't know. I like the Buddy. I like that trade too. I like both scenarios for the Lakers because you're getting rid of a common denominator. Like, get him out of here. I don't care who you get in return. I don't care if you got pennies on a dollar. It's not the same with Kevin Durant where you're never going to equal that. No matter what trade offer you, unless you're trading superstar for superstar, like you're never going to get Kevin Durant back. No matter how many draft picks, players, pick swaps that you could come up with, you're never going to get Kevin Durant in return. With Westbrook, like, you just throw a couple picks in there, put a couple pick swaps in there. You get that in return. Because he's not giving you anything. I'm not going to say productive on the offense end, but he's making the situation worse in LA. You guys just have to get off of him by hook or by crook. Anyway, just get off of Russell Westbrook contract.
Yeah, I think it's, both of those deals are pretty good. I think they both make the Lakers better. The only option is going into next season with Westbrook still on the roster, but I think that's still a possibility.
I do too.
Yeah, I mean, it could just all be for talk, but it seems like the way Darvin Ham has approached it, he's at least willing to give it a shot. It sounds like Westbrook is the one that wants out. He just split with his agent a few days ago, and his agent was the one that was trying to get him to stay in LA. So I don't know, like
his agent knows. He's been with this guy for 14 years.
Yeah,
they had one of the closest player-agent relationships.
Yeah.
And like that whole thing and the statement his agent released, which like that is not standard practice. But that all tells you something because his agent was fairly clear that it sounds like Russ is trying to get out of LA. Darvin Ham is one of the few people in this whole situation who at least publicly has been pro Russell Westbrook. Darvin Ham.
What is he going to say? He's the coach he's the head coach.
Yeah, but I mean, Darvin Ham was very pointed in his praise of Westbrook, of what he said, the role he wants Westbrook to play on this team.
I mean, he was standing like 20 feet away.
I mean, when he was talking about like, this is how I see Russ fitting on the roster, it sounded like he kind of wanted him to, more or less be Drew Holiday. Russ heard that, and reportedly, and like it seems like Russ heard that and was like, "The fuck out of here! I want to be here. Give me a team.
I'm better than Drew Holiday."
It's the thing. But like, if
you're not right now, Westbrook, you're not better than him right now.
If somebody's acquiring Russell Westbrook, it's more than likely like they're gonna buy him out.
Yeah.
And he's a candidate on the buyout market, a la John Wall. And like, I don't know that it doesn't seem, at least according to his agent, it doesn't really seem like he's willing to accept that that's where things are at.
Yeah, I think, and we could go on and on and on about Westbrook in this situation. It's so fascinating. We won't even be able to, unless we do like an emergency show or whatever, we won't be able to, unpack and unfold what happens throughout this, this situation throughout this season. I just think it's fascinating that if he goes on the open market, like what team realistically do you think picks him up? Like who
You mean
picks him
next
up?
offseason?
Yeah, hypothetically, if let's play the devil, let's play this game. Say that there's a 3-team trade, like the Spurs all of a sudden they come in as a third team, they get the compensation from the draft picks and the pick swaps, whatever it will be, and then they put Westbrook on, they said we don't want your contract.
Yeah.
What team will feasibly pick him up next season? Do you see?
I don't know. I mean, I think the Spurs actually might be one of the few teams that would be willing to keep him just because they have no interest in winning next season. I think for the rest of Westbrook's career, it's probably going to be
their best player, so they obviously don't want to win.
Yeah, they don't. They're in those Victor Wembanyama sweepstakes for sure. They've thrown themselves in there. I think there's other teams that are also in there. So I mean, adding Russell Westbrook, that doesn't hurt that probably helps your chances of getting, a top 5 pick. I think, there's teams right now. I think teams like, maybe Indiana or Charlotte, I think they might be willing to hold on to Westbrook. So there's going to be a couple of teams every single season that, they don't have a chance to win it all and they have some cap space. So I think he's going to continue to be on a roster, but he's probably never going to play for a winning team again.
That's a lot. That's a lot that you.
I don't know if I'll go quite that far. I think there are some teams who like theoretically it could make sense. Maybe in Indiana, maybe in Charlotte.
Charlotte doesn't want him. Let me tell you that. Michael Jordan don't want him.
Jordan Brand.
Yeah, I think Michael Jordan would absolutely want him. But yeah, so Charlotte, Indiana. We mentioned San Antonio. I don't think that'll end up happening, but like, makes sense. It could make sense theoretically. Maybe a team that has some shooting and also wants to play a little up tempo, like a Sacramento. I could see all of those happening. I will say about this whole scenario, I keep hearing the whole thing with the Spurs being the third team in this deal. All I will say is the San Antonio Spurs and Greg Popovich have a fairly well-known disdain for the Los Angeles Lakers. And I understand why this would help the Spurs. I'm just going to say I don't think that it is crazy to think that the Spurs would, out of that principle, just not do this deal and say like, fuck the Lakers. This is stuff going all the way back to the Shaq Kobe days. The Spurs organization does not like the Lakers organization. I don't think they'll be trying to do them any favors here.
You remember when I don't that wasn't the case with them, but I had this memory of when Pop, he set all of his key players. I don't think that was against I think that was against the Heat. It was a marquee game, and he set Ginobili, Parker, and Duncan. They were about to go fly to the city they were supposed to be in, and he sent them home. He said, "Go get Chick-fil-A and go home."
I think Danny Green too. Yep, against the Heat.
Danny Green, yeah. Was it against the Heat?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So
it was a TNT game. It actually ended up being a really good game too.
It did. It actually did. But there's going to be so much when we come back to unpack and uncover what the situation. It's going to be very fascinating. But for now, you are listening to the Spoken Truth Podcast live on YouTube as we wrap up the 2021-2022 NBA season.
Oh, shit.
So, welcome back to the Spoken Truth Podcast live on YouTube. I wanted
breaking news. The NBA just fined Joe Lacob $500,000.
For what?
Apparently they wasn't fucking with those comments he made about the luxury tax.
Yeah, I told you. Yeah, I said earlier. I'm like, yeah, Joe Lacob, he has some shit to say about. He don't care about playing the luxury tax, man. Like, he won a winning championship team, and like, when you have Steph Curry, like, we have this guy in your prime who's you can make a case he's the best player in the world, but like when you have him in your prime right now, like and you just got off, the cups of winning the title, and you have a chance of winning next year, like you have to bring your horses back. You have to pay whatever. And he's been one of the few owners to actually take that bill on the chin. Like I don't think I would be able to take that. Like to spend that much money and on luxury tax, like that's crazy. But it's gonna be interesting to see like when the owners meet in the off season when they discuss stuff like this, like because there's been a lot of talk of like how a lot of these owners are mad that he's doing this. So it's going to be very interesting to see what they come up with, as far as like where are going to be the penalties. There's already penalties of going over the luxury tax, but what are they going to implement as additional penalties if you go over the luxury tax? Like, are they going to hard cap it at a specific number? Like, that's going to be crazy if they do that, because that changes a lot for Golden State and all these teams that spend money. Like, that's wild. Like, I agree with him. Like, you should be able to play your players however much money you want to play them. Like, if I want to pay Steph Curry $300 million, that's my prerogative. It's my money. That's my player. I should be able to pay him the money that I pay him. If you're on my books, I should be able to pay you whatever I want to. That's my personal opinion. Now, if I'm going out and say it again.
Without that counting against the salary cap?
I know I think it could count, but you shouldn't feel no type of way, or you shouldn't be mad that I'm paying my players. Now, if you're going out and you're way over the luxury tax, and now you're going to go get Kawhi Leonard and you're going to put him on your team, okay, I have a problem with that. Because now, like, you're going out and you're saying, okay, we're going to stack the deck, 1. 2, I'm going to ignore this bill that the NBA said I don't want you to go over to get the superstar player. And it's like that it tilts the power of the league continuously in the players, their way. So for me, I agree with Lacob. If I want to pay my players money, let me pay them however money I see fit. I shouldn't get penalized additionally for play. And now obviously they're going to pay the luxury tax, but I shouldn't get more penalties if I want to play Steph Curry however much I want to pay him. That's my opinion. So I kind of agree with him. Like, I'm like, oh no. But
no, I think you're right. I can see why a couple other organizations feel it's unfair, if the owner doesn't have that ability, or if the franchise doesn't. But
that ain't my problem that you're not as rich as me.
Right. And I mean he's willing to spend his own money. Like, I don't see an issue with that.
I'll never feel bad for billionaires complaining about
No, absolutely. Like, no, get out of here.
Yeah, you want it if you because you want to be cheap and not build a winning team, and like you would be surprised. This is part of why I believe again Russell Westbrook will ultimately end up being traded, to go back to an earlier segment. But like there are more NBA teams than people are willing to admit that right now aren't really like they're not really trying to win, and there are more owners that we're willing to admit that are like cool with not winning in general.
Yeah.
They make money out of this whole investment.
Make a profit, yeah.
Make a profit out of it, yeah. Once you cut off their revenue, their supply and demand, once you cut off the revenue, the moneymaker, that's when they have a problem.
Yeah, which again to me is crazy because the way I see it, like winning should make you money, but hey, it is what it is. But like I don't feel bad for billionaires complaining about being cheap. If you want to win, like it costs money to win games. You have to pay good players. You have to pay some luxury tax. That is just what it is. The repeater tax, the fact that the luxury tax, if you're over it, 1 year it increases to 2 years, and at 3 years, and nobody's ever paid luxury tax 4 years in a row because the penalty becomes at least everyone at this point has deemed that the penalty is too steep and has just gotten under it by the time it hits 4 years.
Yeah.
So they don't pay the repeater tax. Yeah. But like it costs money to win.
This is year 2 for Lacob, 2 or 3? I think maybe 3.
Well, they weren't in 2020.
They weren't.
Yeah.
I don't believe so.
Okay, so
got themselves back under. But exactly, like there are there's a pretty long history here at this point since the NBA has kind of had the new CBA with the way the luxury tax works, that it looks like this, where teams will make deals that aren't really teams will make a deal or so at the trade deadline that don't really have a ton to do with like basketball. It's literally just about getting under the cap.
Yeah, absolutely.
Speaking of CBAs, guys, we're totally headed for a lockout.
For NBA or NFL?
NBA, totally.
I think they're a compromise.
Without losing any games.
I think so.
I think we're gonna lose. I mean, it's taking it back to the Kevin Durant situation. It's gonna be because of stuff like that.
Yeah. Now that I agree with, like, there's going to be a lot of disagreement that they will have to come to terms with, because I don't think Kevin Durant should be able. Again, this is a players' league, like any other sport. So the owners are going to want some of that power back, and it's going to be fascinating to see like how that turns out, because like this sport is dominated by the best players. The best players, they make the roster. Obviously the GM and the owner, they give the players the money, but LeBron saying, I want this guy and I want to go here or I want to go there. Steph Curry, I want this guy. Kevin Durant, I want to be moved. And it's gonna get to a point where these owners are going to say no, and they're starting to say no. Like we've seen it with Kevin Durant. So that's why one of the biggest reasons I think Kevin Durant is going to stay, because you're not going to get the value back in return for Kevin Durant. I think it's different with Kyrie, because Kyrie, you don't know what he's going to do from day to day. Like there might be another incident that happened in the real world, and he's like, you know what, I need a month off. I just need to think to myself, like I need to take some time off. Like that's Kyrie. He's so skilled, but like you can't depend on him like for a full season. So I think is that the two, Kevin Durant and Kyrie are, they're different, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was a lockout. I just think that the players and the owners like eventually will come to, this is what we're going to do. But I wouldn't be surprised if it was a lockout. Chaz, final word.
No, I mean, I wouldn't either. That would be after the 24 season, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I mean, every time, there's a new CBA, it seems like there's kind of a chance for a lockout. Obviously, we saw the one in, 2012, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Like, it's very possible that it could happen again, but it seems like they will have a chance to come to an agreement before then. So hopefully we can avoid missing any games.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's stay here. I want to get you guys' thoughts. Since we are, this is the conclusion of free agency, I want to know from you guys who had the best offseason so far and who had the worst offseason so far. So as far as free agency, who had the best pickups and what team do you think dropped the ball a little bit in free agency?
That's a good question. I don't know that I would have just, one specific.
Yeah, go ahead and name a couple. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. One of them would be the Philadelphia 76ers. We can talk more about, Harden specifically taking less money, but I think him allowing them to do that, they were able to pick up a few pretty good players. Nothing that's really going to, blow anybody off, but, you add PJ Tucker and then you add Trevelyan Queen. Who else did they add? Daniel House, and then the trade for DeAnthony Melton. I feel like, 4 guys that are going to be in the rotation. I feel like that's a big boost to them. I kind of feel the same way about the Milwaukee Bucks. They didn't do anything, spectacular, but I think bringing in Joe Ingles, he's going to slide right into that rotation.
Ready to pick up.
Yeah, I think teams like that were, kind of 1 or 2 pieces away. They didn't need to add, a top 20, top 25 player, but they were able to add somebody to the rotation. So I think those are 2 Eastern Conference teams.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Before you give, your less, obviously who didn't perform well. I would like to know, who do you think right now, if you were to, if the season was to start today, who will be your favorite out east?
Oh, the Bucks, no question.
The Bucks?
Yeah.
Why?
I mean, I think if Middleton didn't go down last year, I think they would have got to the finals. I'm not saying they're, way better than teams like the Celtics or 76ers. But I do think that they're, slightly better. And I think they should be the favorite going into next season.
Okay. Oh, the favorite to win it all?
Come out of the East.
Okay, gotcha.
I mean, I think they could very well be in the conversation to be the
They
favorite
should.
to
Yeah, they
win it
should.
all as well. Yeah.
Mhm. They should be top three, if not the second, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Your second part of your list?
For a team that underperformed a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. I don't know who didn't really pick up anybody. Tunde, you got one?
Or a trade that you really wasn't fond of, that really didn't teeter the outcome of their season one way or the other. A la the Knicks. I don't think adding, Brunson teeters them to all of a sudden being a top 4 seed in the East versus being a play-in team. I don't think he balanced the power in the Eastern Conference.
I mean, but they got better. I'll give you that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I didn't like the Bulls off season. I think that like the Bulls have some roster weaknesses. Like I think it's tough that they don't have a ton of role play guys who play off the ball, who really shoot the ball at a high level. But like I think the biggest weakness that they have, and we talked about this all last season, even as they were the 1 seed, and we were talking about them being better than we people had expected.
Mhm.
But they really didn't have a lot of guys like wing defenders, basically. That's not really what Lonzo Ball is, but they kind of tasked him with doing some of that, opposite Patrick Williams. But they didn't go after any of those guys this offseason. Like it wasn't even the fact that they didn't acquire it, it's the fact that they didn't try that is just kind of puzzling to me. They end up picking up Andre Drummond, which actually makes sense for their roster. They weren't a team that rebounded the ball super well, especially offensive rebounding. He'll do that at a high level if nothing else. Goran Dragic is a fine pickup. It's kind of some Lonzo Ball insurance because he can play that role of kind of off ball shooter / scorer.
It sounds like to me, it sounds like you think the Bulls are right where they were this past season.
I agree that they're about right where they were as a roster, but like in this scenario, that means they're worse because some of these teams got his teams in the East getting better. The Celtics got better.
Yeah.
The Sixers got better. The Pistons, for instance, we're talking about a team who I don't think will make the playoffs, and I really hope they don't, because goddamn, I want Victor.
But they have one of the best, and we're gonna talk about these young cores a little later. But I gotta tell you, their young core, they have a future.
Yeah.
Yes, they do. And it's players whose games on paper fit together seamlessly. So,
So you mentioned a team that you weren't really too fond of so far in the offseason. Well, specifically we were talking about the free agency. What team you looked at free agency and say, you know what, they did it, they just improved their roster by a mile? Like, what team do you think improved the most, or what teams?
I'll give you one for each conference.
Okay.
So I already kind of mentioned this, but in the East, the Celtics had a finals roster and got better. Danilo Gallinari is a great fit for that roster. He's going to bring as a shooter and kind of as a connector player. But the Malcolm Brogdon trade was such a great deal for them. He gives them another big body, another guy who can shoot the ball, another guy who can operate as a playmaker, even if he's not, maybe a primary playmaker. It's it's like them getting basically a bigger, better version of Derek White, but one that can finish at the rim at a higher level. That's a great deal right there. I don't know that they make the finals again because like you said, Chaz, Milwaukee should probably be the Eastern Conference favorite. But the Boston Celtics got better. And if we go to the Western Conference, I think the team who to me had the best offseason of all on paper, with the exception of one signing that I just do not understand for the life of me, is the Denver Nuggets. Their biggest roster problem, is perimeter defense. They addressed that on so many levels. Bruce Brown is a perfect fit for that team, who is going to be able to guard up and down the lineup. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, another guy who fits perfectly on that team. It's perimeter defense, movement, shooter, cuts well without the ball, plays great off of a superstar, and we know Nikola Jokic is one. Those are guys whose games are tailor-made to play off of a guy who's, the hub of an offense and can, sit in the post or sit high elbow extended and facilitate. And then obviously we assume they'll be getting Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray back. They were willing to trade away Monte Morris because they believe in Bones Highland that much. I agree with them. I also believe in Bones Highland that much. The one thing I just don't get, it's 6 p.m. hits on July 1st, right? So the moment you're allowed to actually sign players, even though we know everybody tampers and does it before then, and strikes out the players they want and organizes deals, and then the NBA will selectively enforce it. That shit is crazy to me.
We're going to get you. We know you were tampering. What about the other 30 teams?
They were like, Milwaukee was like, hey, we're gonna go get Bojan Bogdanovic. They were like, you thought you were the Lakers? You'll get to tamper.
I love how Brunson.
Sit down. Fuck is you doing?
I know. Side note, I love how Brunson said, "Yeah, we're going to take a meeting with Mavs." I already know you going to the Knicks, man.
That was all leaked. That was all leaked, so they didn't have to face charges. That's
smart though. That's smart.
That's smart. We already know where you're going, man. You got your team. You have a meeting with them. We know.
We all knew that was nonsense. But yeah, it was like 6 p.m. and 42 seconds, and they were like, the Denver Nuggets will be signing DeAndre Jordan to a 1-year deal. I just don't get it.
Why do you like that? What's wrong with that move?
DeMarcus,
it's just insurance for. Go ahead.
DeMarcus Cousins was good for them last year, and
they got rid of Cousins.
Yes, and
okay.
Well, they didn't re-sign him, and they signed DJ. So I'm assuming especially with that, they picked him up at the start of free agency. They probably picked up DJ to be their backup center. The other thing with Boogie is that stylistically there is some overlap with Nikola Jokic with his playmaking.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes a lot of sense to have him as the backup center. They could have re-signed him. It wouldn't have been a problem. And Boogie has familiarity with Michael Malone, who's his coach in Sacramento. It just seems like a perfect fit. You drop him to sign a player who's worse at literally everything.
Yeah, I can see your frustration, with that pickup. I don't know. To me, obviously, Cousins to me is a better fit. I think he's a better player right now. I just don't know, are they thinking we want, a bigger presence? Like, do we want a bigger body? Do we want someone that's maybe a little stronger? I'm not sure how strong both of them are, but
Cousins is bigger, right?
I think Jordan is a little taller, right?
Oh, I just meant bigger in general.
Oh, he might be massive. He may be, but I don't know. I don't know what direction they were trying to go on with that. So I agree with you, Tunde.
Yeah, me too.
I
don't know that it's one that's going to have a huge impact, obviously, because Jokic is going to be getting the bulk of the minutes. But it was one that I looked at. It was kind of I feel like a little bit confusing with the way that I feel like the Nuggets usually operate. Although it's no longer Tim Connolly there, so they might start to make some different decisions.
So I want to ask both of you, hypothetically, obviously injuries aside, like what is the ceiling for this Denver Nuggets team? So I know both of you guys are high on them. You guys were high on them last year. You both are high on Jokic.
I'll
Like,
say
so
the
what is the
finals.
ceiling? Finals?
The finals.
The finals?
Finals. The
Yeah.
Honey, you would
finals.
say finals too?
Finals are winning the title. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's that's
I don't think it's going to happen. I wouldn't even probably have them in maybe my top 3 teams probably out west, but I think it's possible. I think they have what it takes. Everything would just have to break right.
you see them
To be
having the
clear, they
number
won't
one
be.
seed in the Western Conference.
I think it's possible. To be clear, they won't be my pick for the 1 seed or to win the title, but like that's the ceiling for this team. They'll be like to win it all, and they are
I agree.
going to be really damn good.
What about some of the moves Dallas made? Do you guys really care for? What do we think about that team, man? Can this team get back to? They're in the Western Conference Finals last year. Can they get back to that point?
I think so. I think like for some of the consternation we've seen with about them letting Jalen Brunson walking. And you guys know how big a fan I am of Jalen Brunson's game. But like I think a lot of people forget that they're gonna get Tim Hardaway Jr. back next year, and that's like a 18 to 20 point a game scorer right there.
Mhm.
They'll be fine. they will be just fine. I mean, they acquired Jalen Hart or drafted Jalen Hardy, who I think is closer to being like a ready-made NBA scorer than people realize. I also really like the JaVale McGee signing. I think JaVale McGee gives them he gives them another vertical spacer and a lob threat. They usually want to have one of those guys out there, whether it's Dwight Powell or now JaVale McGee. I like that. And then obviously I think the big splash move was the Christian Wood acquisition. Theoretically, Christian Wood makes a lot of sense on that team. I will say Christian Wood has yet to attempt to play NBA defense on any of the teams he's been on. It's very possible that part of that has to do with the fact that it's been as far as him getting actual legit rotation minutes, it's just been the Pistons and the Rockets, and neither one of those teams are going to win anything. And it's possible that when he gets in a situation where he's playing with a group of people, a team that isn't unserious, that he'll dig in and that'll look better. But that's something to watch. But on the other side of the floor, Christian Wood's game is a perfect fit for what Dallas does, both as a shooter and as somebody who can attack and close out. He should fit nicely next to Luka Doncic.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on Dallas, Trash? Their offseason moves.
Yeah, I really like the JaVale McGee signing. I thought that was really big for their defensive impact. I don't know though. I don't know that they're a better team than they were last season. I think the Jalen Brunson loss is pretty big. I know Spencer Dinwiddie is going to be able to take up a good chunk of that, and then Tune, like you said, Tim Hardaway Jr. is expected to. I mean, I think he's going to come back and he'll have a great season. Jaden Hardy potentially coming off the bench, having some impact. Maybe somebody like Josh Green being a little bit better. So I think they can make up for that, the loss from Brunson. But I don't know though. A lot of those other teams in that tier, I think, are just as good as them. I would think that the Nuggets are going to be better than them next season. They're probably both in that same range, but that's kind of a team that I'm looking at. Are they better than them? Right now, I would favor with the Nuggets. And a lot of it's going to come down to, can Christian Wood be that player? I mean, we've seen him be a good player, a very good offensive player at times, but we haven't seen on the defensive end. And I don't know, Tune, like you said, when you get thrown into those situations, a lot of the times, you pick it up, you can kind of become that player because now you're in a winning situation. Other times, guys just aren't that player and they never become that. So we'll have to wait and see. I think it's a possibility that he could be, a 2010 guy, play pretty good defense, play, small ball 5, be at the 4 a lot of the time as well, and be really good on both ends. But there's also, a possibility that he's maybe like 75% of that. And I think they need him to be probably better than he's ever been if they want to reach their goal.
Sticking with some of these teams in free agency, what's going on in Utah? Like
Fire sale, right?
Like what is going on with Utah? I mean, Donovan Mitchell, the organization is looking to get rid of Donovan Mitchell. Like, what?
Sounds like they're not like super eager to get rid of Donovan.
Yeah, I don't think they're super eager either.
But they're listening.
Yeah, Sunday, what are your thoughts on Utah?
I mean, they got a hell of a haul back for Rudy Gobert, just as far as picks go.
Like we've never seen before. Like, that's insane. I still can't believe that he got that much back in return. I can't believe that.
Yeah.
I mean, I get why Minnesota would make that deal.
Absolutely. Yeah.
For that,
I don't think it makes them. I don't think it makes them. Hold on. Let's talk about them for a second. Like, we're going to get back to Utah. We can actually put them in, the same category a little bit. Kind of go back and forth. But Chaz, I wanted to get your thoughts real quick because I don't necessarily think T-Wolves got.
You don't think
they got too much better. Like, I think they got better on the defensive end. Like, let's start with Tunde first because he's the one that brought them up. Yeah. So how do you think that moves affects like them? Because they made it to first. I think they go to the second round of play. No, first round, right?
Lost in 6. Yeah.
Also in the first round. So how much does Rudy Gobert improve that team in the postseason? Because he seemed to be unplayable in the postseason. So
that's not true. Rudy Gobert is unplayable in the postseason. Narrative story, whatever you want to call it, needs to die an immediate, hot, fiery death. That's not what happened in Utah. That's never what happened in Utah. Them dudes.
I think we know though. I think us three know. I think it's the other narratives around him that they say he was unplayable. I think all three of us know like what was going on with that team.
Sure, but I'm just saying like they was letting Reggie Jackson walk to the cup like he was 88 Isaiah Thomas like a couple years back. Like it's a group. It was a group of just not good perimeter defenders. Royce O'Neal is the best one. And he's okay. Like was the best one now that he's in Brooklyn, and he was just okay. Like it shouldn't look like that. If you want to criticize Rudy Gobert for anything with that whole thing, criticize him for the fact that he didn't make people pay on the other end and they were able to play small ball lineups because there was no concern, that you're not concerned that Rudy Gobert is going to score on somebody off a post up or he's going to be a menace on the boards offensively and that you won't be able to keep him off. Those are the things you criticize him for, but it wasn't the goddamn defense. With that being said, that kind of stuff doesn't work in Minnesota because you're going to go small against the Timberwolves and Karl Anthony Towns is going to post up. Is
he really?
Yes.
Yeah, he'll post up a 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
Karl Anthony Towns is somebody who can score at a high level in the post, and is a load on the boards. Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
I think they make a ton of sense as a pairing. Cat, a lot of Cat's weaknesses, like Cat's not really a high level rim protector. Rudy Gobert is the best in the league at that. Mm-hmm. I think Rudy Gobert is a solid perimeter defender, but Cat does a better job chasing power forward types and wings, around on the perimeter.
So what's the ceiling?
I mean, ceiling is probably conference finals to finals. I do think that this is a team
this year.
Yeah, I do think this is a team
that
has a real chance at 50 wins and being a top 4 seed. Like this is going to be a really good team.
I gotta write that on a post-it note.
Please do. Rudy Gobert. Rudy Gobert is going to make this team better. I think the acquisition makes sense from that perspective. I don't know that I would have given up 5 first-round picks for it, but I get why, as a team like Minnesota and in a place like Minnesota that is not a free agency destination, your path to, if you want to win the title, your path is probably something like what Toronto did, where you're just, you're good for some years and then you're able to take a big swing or, maybe get yourself to the point where now they're made probably a big swing away from really being, comfortably in that conversation, and then you go from there. It's also possible that Anthony Edwards takes a leap, and then we're having a very different conversation about all of this. And that's the fun with all of this.
I am flabbergasted.
But I mean, the free agents aren't lining up to go to Minnesota. That's just true.
You think this team is good enough to make the conference finals?
I mean, I think it's on the list of outcomes. Yeah, I think they have a very real chance of being a top 4 seed. I also think it's tough to just say this will be a 50-win team or this.
Now, I think that's realistic being a top 4 seed. I think that's realistic.
The issue is just that the West is so goddamn loaded.
Yeah, there's some conference finals now. I mean, Chaz.
They'll be really good. They'll be really good.
Talk some sense into them, Chaz. Talk some sense into them.
No, I mean, I think maybe for this core, they could potentially get to a conference finals at some point. I would say next season, the goal has to be to get to that second round. Win one series, be a top 4 or 5 seed, and then win one series, get some, real run for those guys in the playoffs. Anthony Edwards is 21, I believe. So, he's still several years away from really getting into the player that he's going to be. So, I don't know. I feel like, maybe you expect to make a conference finals. Maybe this team can get into the finals. But to me, none of that is, for a few years out. I think right now this team is a 50-win team, like you said, probably a top 4. They should for sure be in that top 6 cutoff, to avoid the play-in. They were in the play-in this year. I think next year they obviously took that step up to be a top 6 seed. And then you're in that conversation to, get to the second round, maybe have a chance to get to the conference finals. But to me, that's too much to ask for next season.
Golden State. No, right?
No.
Clippers, no. Memphis.
We'll see.
Memphis, no.
We'll see on both of those. We'll see on both of those. Yeah.
Are we saying no on Memphis? Maybe.
Well, I mean, they just took Memphis to 6 without Rudy Gobert, and I think the Timberwolves got better, and I don't think the Grizzlies did.
Denver, right? 3.
And with Denver, as high as I am on Denver, Denver's also a we'll see because Jamal Murray and
really high on this. Go ahead, Tunde. I'm sorry.
Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. are coming back from injury. There's some moving pieces there. Jaren Jackson Jr. will probably not be ready for the start of the season, and it sounds like he's going to miss time into the season. That's moving pieces for Memphis. It's going to make them worse. That might really hurt what it ends up looking like proceeding at the end of the season. There's going to be a lot of moving pieces here. And that's before we even mention the Clippers. But who the hell knows if Kawhi Leonard will be able to stick to his I play every other season thing. Like,
that's tough though, y'all. I mean, I can see a top 4 seed. I can't see that team making a conference finals next year.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think a lot.
That's a huge leap from round 1 exit to conference finals.
I mean, you add, the number 1 interior defender in the league. I think their bench got better, and you assume that Anthony Edwards and Karl-Anthony Towns are going to continue to get better. So I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. I just think that's too much to ask for, in the first season with a lot of these guys still being so young.
I think it's out of the realm of possibility for them to make conference finals next year. Yeah. I do believe they're going to be a very, very good regular season team, and they can take a team in the second round. I think they get past the first round. I think they could take a team to their limits in the second round, but
that's a huge success for the Timberwolves.
I think that is too.
They haven't won a series since 2004. I mean, if they can get that done, you actually start to build some playoff momentum for guys like Anthony Edwards. I don't think he's probably 4 years away from, hitting his prime. And he's already one of the probably 6 or 7 best shooting guards in the league. So, I'm as high on Anthony Edwards as I am probably anybody in the league. So I feel like he's, if he can get there, if they can keep this core together. But to me, it's just too early to ask, like I said, for next season.
Yeah, that's a tall ask, Tunde. I do agree with the regular season, but those expectations, I think they're a little high. But again, I do see what you're talking about as far as the talent and the move. To me, I think it makes them a better team. I just don't think it makes them a better team where all of a sudden I catapult them into contending in the Western Conference.
To me, there's no question it made them a better team. I mean, like Tunde, you said that, it's kind of going to kind of cover up the things that Cat can't do. And then also Cat is going to cover up the things that Rudy can't do. And then I think it also gives you more versatility in how you can play. You're a lot more flexible. You added a guy like Kyle Anderson, who I think is going to be very good off the bench for that team. And, you took him away from a team that you competed against too. You also added in Bryn Forbes, Austin Rivers. I think their bench got a lot better. And then, Rudy Gobert is a guy that we criticize him for his, defensive weaknesses at times because they can stretch him out. You can spread him out. You can kind of play him off the floor or whatever at times.
Oh, that's not it. But sorry, keep going.
You can put Rudy Gobert in a compromised position where he's closing out on the corner, which is not what he does well. And teams were forcing him to do that. But what I criticize him for the most is his just, lack of any type of impact on the offensive end. And I think he's going to be better when he's being defended by fours and he has a good passer like D'Angelo Russell setting him up at the rim. I think Rudy Gobert is going to be better than he was the last couple of years in Utah.
To me, he seems uncomfortable on the perimeter. I'm not saying he can't.
On defense?
I think he say again, Charles.
On defense, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's uncomfortable on the perimeter. That's just what I observe. I definitely think it's fixable. This notion that he's severely unplayable in the playoffs, again, Tunde, I don't think none of us agreed that was the case, but I do think there are limitations to his game that raises some question marks. But can he be a valuable piece on a really, really good team? Of course. Could he catapult a championship team, like a great team, into a championship level team? I'm not sure. I think it depends on who's on that roster.
Is this a better roster around him than he ever had in Utah? I think it is, right?
Yes, absolutely. By far. By far.
It's a shame they couldn't keep Jared Vanderbilt.
I know, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they overpaid, in my opinion, in the draft picks and the players that they had to include. I mean, including Jared Vanderbilt, Patrick Beverley, and Malik Beasley, in addition to essentially 6 first-round picks. I mean, that's quite the haul.
I mean, they had to give up. I know, just because part of the deal was signing, was the extension for Rudy, but I just don't. Yeah, I agree with you, Chaz. The picks are kind of just the thing I have a hard time with, but I don't disagree with. I don't disagree with them, like the notion of taking a swing and going out and getting Rudy Gobert, and I do ultimately like the fact that I like the fit. Like some people I know are worried about the whole too big thing. Like we didn't just watch the Boston Celtics make the finals playing Robert Williams and Al Horford next to each other. But yeah.
But I think it works to some degree, though. I think it works to some degree. Like, sure, like a dominant paint presence can win a championship. We saw Giannis do it a couple years ago.
And LeBron and Anthony Davis the year before that.
And LeBron really wasn't. LeBron was more of a paint presence than AD was, in my opinion. But AD did. I think that was a season where I saw AD play in the paint the most, other than being in New Orleans, where his game was, I would say it was 50-50, but I don't know. Like
the Lakers and the Bucks more or less both won championships largely because of their size and their ability to put pressure on the rim.
But also their best players. We have to give credit to Giannis and LeBron.
But that's part of those two skill set is the exact thing we're talking about. It's size, athleticism, ability to put pressure on the rim as a driver. So that's being a dominant paint presence.
Yeah, but my whole problem is, and this is where we're not getting to AD, but only to bring home this point, the only problem that I have with your statement is that it should have been AD instead of LeBron having to do that. I don't think LeBron should have been the guy doing that. That's what AD was supposed to do. He was supposed to be that dominant paint presence over LeBron. And to me, that's where I've always had my biggest criticism with AD is that, hey, he doesn't want to play in that position. I'm not even going to say he's soft because you guys get offended when I call him soft, but he lacks some want to factor playing, in the paint.
We're talking about the year they won the championship, and AD was special in the bubble.
Absolutely, AD in the championship was. First of all, I'm never taking anything away from him in the.
That's all I have to say there.
he. First of all, let's context. Let's context. They were playing against Jimmy Butler, Miami Heat. That team. They were in the
who they're from you. It's not their fault. The Boston Celtics.
No, I'm saying the situation they were in.
The conference finals. It's not their fault. It's not their fault. The Clippers decided to implode upon themselves.
The Los Angeles Lakers.
Doc Rivers kept yelling, "Hell no, I'm gonna talk over you now." It's not his fault that Ivica Zubac kept getting thrown out there to get barbecued by Nikola Jokic, or that Lou Williams was the second best playmaker on that roster, and he was on the court playing 30 minutes a game, shooting like 32% from the field in that series, or that Montrezl Harrell was getting cooked too and complaining about shit, or that Kawhi Leonard scored like 4 points in the second half of that game 7. None of that is the Lakers' fault that the teams around them imploded.
I didn't say it was. I just
also
said
that Lakers team that 2020 Lakers team is so much better than they get credit for.
I would say AD outplayed Jokic. I mean, that wasn't on the final stage, but I mean, he did in that Western Conference Finals.
Jokic is by himself.
I'm saying just them head to head. He like AD was better.
Than y'all. Like let's not like. Okay, all right. Let's stop acting like AD is like.
Like what?
I don't even want to criticize. I don't even want to criticize the man anymore because I feel like I've been hard on him forever. Like
unnecessarily, he was great in the bubble. That's what we're talking about.
He's not that guy. He's not it. Like he can't lead a championship level team. He's not that guy. He
doesn't need to.
Fine,
because he has LeBron.
Fine, maybe I disagree. Maybe I disagree with you. But if we're talking about the bubble, you might not think he's not that guy, pal or whatever. But in the bubble, he was that guy.
No, he was good because he had LeBron. That's it. When you got LeBron, he makes you better. But again, like
you're talking to somebody who was a huge LeBron James fan here, but you're like you are not giving him
the
credit he deserves for what
I do give him credit. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Let's not do
I said he played great in the finals. You can't sit here and say I didn't say Anthony Davis played great in the finals.
It wasn't just the finals. Let's not do this today. Let's save everybody.
Thank you. Because we can go on and on and on and on about Anthony Davis and how he's not that guy. But I think deep down in your heart, you just want to disagree with me, but I'm telling the truth.
Like, I really think you're wrong as fuck.
He just want to disagree with me because this is we're debating. He just want to disagree that Anthony Davis, he is that guy. When is the evidence is screaming like, oh, he's
I don't argue just to argue. You're just wrong.
I'm not wrong. I'm sorry, but I'm saying in my calm voice now. I'm not.
We'll just have to disagree.
But we're going to talk a lot about the Lakers of this upcoming season because Anthony Davis is entering the 4th year with the Lakers. Let's see what they can do. Like,
yeah, I do want to say one more thing about the Timberwolves too, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think when you mentioned it, kind of how Boston kind of laid that blueprint for the ability to play 2 big men. I think the Timberwolves are going to be able to do that. I think it also gives them a chance to, kind of like the Celtics did, pick, one of those 2 that were playing better and go with a smaller lineup, put Kyle Anderson at the 4 and Towns at the 5 and Gobert on the bench if that's the matchup that's working for you or if that's how the flow is going. I just think it allows the Timberwolves to have a lot more flexibility next season. I would also say that, Chris Finch has a lot of success with multiple big man lineups. He was there in New Orleans with the AD and DeMarcus Cousins team. And then he was also in Denver, with Jokic and Nurkic early in their careers. So he has a lot of experience playing guys, big guys, 2 big guys, 2 centers really together and having one kind of downsize because they have the ability to go in and out. And they brought over Tim Connolly, who had experience with Chris Finch, Dell Demps. I'm pretty high on what the Timberwolves did this offseason. I think they spent a little bit too much to do so. But I do think that they got better, and I think they got done what they wanted to do.
Yeah. No disagrees there. I kind of agree with everything you said. You know, see, I was about to bring up AD again. See, you see what you do? You see what y'all do? I looked at Tunde's face and I'm like, AD.
AD was a top probably 6 player in the league from 18 to 20. From 17 to 20.
2017 to 2020?
He was a top probably 6 or 7 player in the league.
I'll give you that. I mean,
he's not that anymore. He's probably,
absolutely not. He's not that. We know that. Come on. But Tunde,
including that bubble run though,
Tunde doesn't know that though. Tunde doesn't know that.
Well,
I don't have him at 7 or like.
Is he in the top 15 still?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Is he in the top 10?
No.
Maybe not.
Look at him. He don't know.
He said maybe.
You ought to put this man in the top 10. He's not a top 10 player, man.
Yeah, like I would still take Anthony Davis over Damian Lillard if you were asking me to pick. So like,
I probably would.
We'll get into you know what?
And Damian Lillard is probably like 11 or 12. So
this is me personally. Like we're not talking about Portland on this show, guys. But I just wanted to ask this question real quick. We didn't plan on talking about them today. I wanted to ask this question real quick because I think it was very interesting where my mind went. Is we letting Lillard off the hook? Like he keeps signing these deals. He's keep using that I'm being loyal, to this organization. Is we letting him off the hook for not like trying to compete for a championship? He getting all this money. He's with this organization. They're not really never going to compete for a championship in his era. Like, is he kind of getting off the hook a little bit? Like, I kind of think he's getting off the hook a little bit.
He's rich, so let him be rich. I don't know.
But like winning a title, like the pressure is not on him to win a title. Like, it's never going to be on him to win a title as long as he's in Portland.
Yeah, I feel like he just kind of chose that career path where, he's going to be, not stuck, but he's going to be, beloved by one city. And, maybe or maybe not, he'll probably never get that ring, but at least he's going to, really be tied to that city.
See, I think he's using that as a crutch though. That was my point.
But do you think it's, to me, it seems legitimate with him though. Like it doesn't.
No, I think it is, but I think he doesn't have the pressure. He's using that I'm loyal to one organization as a reason why he's not going to win a title in his career. I think that that's relieving all the pressure off of him because he has no pressure.
Do you think Dame believes he can win a championship in Portland? I feel like he does.
I don't think he does. Like,
I don't think he can, but I believe that he does.
What evidence over the last decade, like, have you seen? Obviously, when CJ was there and they were getting bounced out by Golden State, that's a different animal. Like, they just wasn't better than those two guys. But like, what other evidence have you seen? Like, the strides that they make to legitimately say like this team can win a title, like.
To me, I think you're right. But if you're in it and if you're doing it every year and you have, got to the conference finals, you've won a couple other series, you've had some success playing with another high level player. I feel like if you're in that position, you probably think, let me add one more guy and maybe we can do it again.
What do you think, Tunde? Real quick.
I don't know. Portland isn't. I think that I like some of the additions they've made. I think Jeremy Grant is the exact kind of player they've needed on the roster for like the last 9 years, but a
little too late.
A little too late.
I don't know. Shaedon Sharpe has a really high ceiling, but he's not going to be a productive like winning NBA player for probably a couple of years. I think that Anthony Simons is more or less them running back CJ McCollum. So from a potential skill set perspective, I just don't think we're changing anything here.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Do you think? I'll ask you the same question I asked Dane. Do you think that Dame believes he can win a championship in Portland though?
I don't think he does. But
And
I don't think.
How could you?
I don't know. I mean, let me put it this way. NBA players are, is some of the most competitive people on the planet Earth. Damian Lillard probably believes that he can win. He could win with any roster you give him. But like, I think in his heart of hearts, he has to know that like the roster that Portland has is not really like this ain't it.
Yeah.
And is he okay with staying there for the rest of his career then and winning no championship? Because I feel like he might be okay with having that type of legacy.
But see, I agree
made
with
like $450. He's made like $400 million in
And he's going to be a Hall of Famer. I mean,
yeah, but I think, I think that I agree with you, both of you, actually. I agree that I think he's content on that. What his legacy? That's his legacy. But what I was asking is, are we giving him a pass for that? Because he's not competing for a title. He's making all this money. He's keep using the same thing, like, oh, I'm loyal to this team. There's no pressure on him to go somewhere that can actually win a title, because that's what his legacy will be, is that, oh, I've been with this team for 20 plus years and like I was ride or die. Like the pressure is off of Damian Lillard. Like he's making all this money and there's no pressure. And I get it. Like you're loyal to this organization, but to me, I started to wonder, like, does he really care about competing for a title? Like, up until this point, I had the same question about Harden, but I'm like, Harden is at least attempting to like give some of that money. He's not always going for the money. Let me get the money.
But would you rather have Harden force his way out of two places just to try and win a championship, or Dame stay and do it, in the place that he was drafted? I mean, to me, it's just, an opinion on which one you prefer, which one you think is right, which one maybe you would do if you were in that situation.
But I think we both agreed that Harden is ranked a little higher all time than Dame.
Oh, yeah, more than a little, yeah.
Yeah, but so I'm saying the championship for Harden will mean more as far as, when you're creating those lists of like, where did these guys rank? But I do think a Dame bring a title. I mean, I think that ship has sailed. That was a long time ago. If he was going to do it, he would have done it in New Orleans. I actually think New Orleans is a hell of a team. I mean, we're going to get into some of these teams in our last segment, but I think they're a hell of a team. They can make some noise. But Portland, I don't know. I don't compare the two. I think both of those are two completely different reasons why they, he's doing what he's doing for that. James Harden, he's trying to team hop to win a title.
Would you respect Dame more if he did that?
I respect Dame more than I do Harden. But I'm saying, it's not about me saying like me trying to bash Dame. I'm saying like, I think, are we letting him off the hook because he's not asked to like compete at the highest level anymore. Like, I don't think it was ever to a point where we said Portland's going to win a championship. Like, and Dame's going to be the reason why. That's why when I say I don't think he's the number one option, is because I don't think he could be the best guy on a championship level team and get them to that point. Just like I don't think Donovan Mitchell is a number one guy. Like, and I've said that, you guys went like, what? Like, no, I don't.
I think Dame is. I think with the right players around him, he could. I don't know about now. We're gonna have to see how he comes back.
I agree with Shaq. I think Shaq agrees with me. It's like 4 or 5 superstars in the NBA, and then the rest.
I mean, I think I do believe there's a difference between a number one option and a guy who can be the best player on a championship team. But I think that's fair enough.
Yeah.
If that's how you want to describe it, then sure.
You just don't want to argue with me right now, but I don't.
No, I mean, I'm not even saying. I just think that's not how I would put it, and it's too harsh. But like,
do you think he could be the best player on a championship team?
Do I think Dame could be on the championship team?
Yeah,
I would say no. So okay. I don't disagree with you there.
You do, Chaz? You do?
I just don't think that
at
he's
one
the
point.
number one option in the NBA.
What'd you say, Chaz?
Oh, I said that I think at one point in his career, if you take whatever 2016 Dame and switch him with Steph Curry on that team, I think they probably win the championship. Or the 17, I think Dame is at one point he was at that level. We'll have to see if he gets back.
Dame has never been on Steph's level.
No, I'm not saying. I'm saying if you have all that talent around you, then I think Dame would still be able to play at a good enough level to win it all. But I mean, you would need to have such a high level around you that he's never going to get that in Portland.
That's fair. You are listening to the Spoken Truth podcast live on YouTube. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel and our Spotify account. All you gotta do is type in Spoken Truth podcast in your search engine. Last segment, y'all. Last segment. Let's get to it like a boss.
Good.
Yeah. What's up, guys, and welcome back to the Spoken Truth podcast live on YouTube. So I wanted to get in to a lot of these young and up-and-coming teams and talent that we see in an NBA. I wanted to start with the draft. Obviously, post-draft, and we are now, I think the G League is over, right? Is it over or still going on?
Summer League, yeah, it's over.
Summer League, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So who impressed you guys?
Shout out to the Portland Trailblazers winning it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the only thing they're gonna win.
Right.
Got a ring.
Yeah.
Who impressed you guys the most in Summer League?
To me, it was Keegan Murray. I think there's a couple of guys in that conversation, but I'm going to give it to the guy that won the Summer League MVP. I think he averaged about 23.3. I think it finished up, 7 or 8 rebounds a game, a few assists. He shot 50, 40, 81, I believe. He was really good. He pretty much picked up exactly where he left off, at Iowa during that Big Ten tournament run that he had. And then although they got knocked out early in the first round, Keegan Murray pretty much did what he did in the Summer League all of last season. And I think he opens up right with Paolo. Him and Paolo Banchero, to me, should be the leading candidates for Rookie of the Year. So there's a couple of second-year players and some rookies that I thought really stood out in Summer League. But to me, Keegan Murray was probably the best player out there.
For sure. I'll go with Paolo. You already mentioned him, but I'll go with Paolo just because I understand Keegan Murray winning Summer League MVP and all that is awesome. Paolo shouldn't have been. Paolo looked like after 2 games, it was like, what Orlando ended up doing, like send him home. He doesn't need to be here.
He's ready. Yeah.
Yeah. And that to me is the best compliment anybody can have in Summer League.
Yeah.
Because it's Summer League. Some of the shit that you can do in Summer League is stuff you can't do in regular games. Like there's non-translatable stuff that we see all the time. There's a really funny thing in Summer League, Chaz, you and I have talked about this before, but Summer League tends to be rough for people who aren't creators and people who aren't play initiators, just because every 5'10" chucker who's around the periphery of the NBA thinks they're going to show up to Summer League, average 45 points a game in Summer League, and then
get a roster spot.
They're going to get a roster spot that way. But those aren't the dudes that get roster spots. It's it's the people who are like Herb Jones in New Orleans. Those are the people that get roster spots. They're not, you ain't showing up to Philly and then you get the ball. You're not going to show up to Miami and then they make you a primary shot creator, or Dallas, and then all of a sudden you become a primary shot creator. Pretty much every NBA team either has their primary shot creators or they have the guys that they are developing to be their primary shot creators. And you are not going to show up to Summer League and then become that guy. But they don't get that. So then, you have some really good prospects who don't quite get the look as good as they should. And then, as much as I actually like him, you have people like what Josh Christopher was doing in Summer League this year, where you're like, God damn, move the rock.
Yeah.
But Paolo Banchero looked really nice in Summer League, and it looked translatable to actual NBA basketball, which is the most important thing here ultimately. So
real quick, just their names. Who Who disappointed you the most, Chaz?
There'd be a couple way to look at disappointment because just guys that I was disappointed with were
Didn't
Shaden.
exceed your expectations on what you thought they could do.
Yeah, I mean, the two guys I'll mention would be Shaden Sharp and Dyson Daniels, but that was because they were injured. I was really looking forward to seeing both those guys play, and the fact that they got hurt in their opening games was a drag. But somebody that actually went out there and played, and I didn't think played quite to their ability was actually probably Chet Holmgren. I mean, there's some other guys that kind of in that middle tier that weren't that great, but he's a guy that you expected a lot out of. And I thought he was just okay. I think he was better in that Utah Summer League than he was out in Vegas. I still think he showed flashes, but he only averaged 12 points, 8.5 rebounds per game. He's a guy that's going to have a lot of those games, where he does, probably 10, 15 points and then 7 or 8 rebounds, 7 or 8 assists. He's going to have a lot of those type of games. But I want to see a little bit more of, the ball handling, a little bit more of taking over games. I think that's going to come at a time, but it's not there yet. And especially playing with someone like Josh Giddey, he's going to have somebody setting him up a lot of the time. But Chet is somebody that can do that other stuff. So I'm really looking forward to when he's able to get loose and really become the player that he has the potential to be.
Sunday.
I'll be brief and just give you a name, and I'll mention Josh Christopher again. If you want another name, RJ Hampton.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are some of the teams and players that you guys are most excited about seeing next season?
Oh my God, New Orleans.
Oh man, yes. Like, go ahead. I'm probably gonna agree with everything you say. So go ahead.
You won't agree with some of it, but don't worry. We'll be in the same ballpark. Because I'm just gonna reiterate a take. I'm just gonna drill this in everybody's head now, because I'm gonna be insufferable if I end up being right about this. But Zion Williamson, to me, in New Orleans, looks the way I expect him to look next year. Zion Williamson, if he stays healthy, he's my MVP pick.
It's not far-fetched. I can actually see that.
Gave New Orleans problems last year going small. You can't go small with Zion healthy and on the court. It just doesn't work. He changes everything. Brandon Ingram, you guys know how good I think he is. I think Brandon Ingram is him. CJ McCollum gives them the 3-level scoring threat that they didn't have before that they really needed. And then you have some really good. You have a really, really like all defense level wing guy in like Herb Jones. Jonas Valanciunas is still there. You get the ability to mix and match him with some of these different lineups. So probably make a solid pick and roll partner with CJ. You would imagine that Devontae Graham's shooting will bounce back. But I really like that roster. I think that's another team that is in that Minnesota category, where I won't be surprised if we're talking about them as a top 4 seed at the end of next year.
Josh?
Yeah, I'm really excited to see that Pelicans roster for sure. I think they're, kind of underrated. And they have such a deep roster, like you said, Tunde. I feel like they're going to have a shot to maybe jump up into that range, replace a team like Utah, who's kind of in that middle tier. I think maybe they have a shot to do that alongside the Timberwolves. We're going to have to see, how good Zion actually is out there, how, long it takes him to get back in the fold. But that's definitely one of the teams I had written down too. I also had the Nuggets. We already talked about them, but seeing this team back full force on the court, me and Tunde said that we think they have a shot to get to the finals. I definitely think this is one of the better teams out in the Western Conference. And if they can find a way to actually stay healthy, then I feel like they're going to really prove that to people this year.
What young team are you looking forward to, watching next season? Young cores.
Yeah, I think first, as a Pistons fan, it's got to be Detroit. I mean, having Kate Cunningham, Jaden Ivey, that's a hell of a backcourt to build off of. I think they're really
nice if I had 8 and 2.
I mean, I think trading for getting that pick and then selecting Jalen Duren was huge as well. He was pretty good out in the summer league. I thought Isaiah Stewart showed an ability to play off of him. You know, he was really good in the summer league as well, knocking down a few threes. So I think this team is definitely going somewhere. Sadiq Bey is, to me, is one of the better underrated 3-point shooters in the whole league. I mean, setting the Pistons franchise record in year 2 is pretty impressive, and I think he's going to continue to do so, especially with guys having to, you know, turn their attention to Jaden Ivey even more than in past years, where Sadiq Bey was kind of looked at as, you know, the second best player. But you know, with Cade Cunningham running the show, I can't wait to see this team. I also got to give a shout out to the Rockets and Thunder. I think they're building something. You know, we're gonna have to see if it develops into anything, but both of those cores I feel like are pretty attractive too.
What young core are you looking forward to watching, or cores are you looking forward to watching Sunday?
Yeah, I mean, Chaz, I'm going to echo a lot of what you said. Pistons, Thunder. I love Josh Giddey. Obviously, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander is super fun. Trey Murphy, somebody else who I'm really enjoying watching play basketball. Goodness gracious, there's so many. Like like all of the teams who are going to be young are going to be interesting. Like the Rockets.
NBA has a bright future. I'd say that.
Yeah, like the league is a very bright future. The Rockets are going to be fun to watch. I think that Jabari Smith landed in the best possible place of the top 3 options of the teams who picked at the top of this past draft. And I think between, Jabari, Tari Eason, who I think fits really nicely on that roster, and then you have your guys who are going to be a little bit more ball dominant by nature, like your Jalen Green and Kevin Porter Jr., who profile as your primary shot creators, 3-level scorers. And then, even guys like Şengün, who doesn't get talked about at the same level, but is a really, really fun basketball player.
Yeah.
I don't think the Rockets will be good next year, but they'll be fun.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I want to echo almost everything you guys said. I love this Detroit team. Obviously I don't think they're going to compete for a title or anything like that, but their young core definitely to have a future. OKC has a haul of draft picks. They have so much, I don't know exactly how they're going to end up, using all of those picks, but the Rockets, OKC, the Pelicans, because the Pelicans, they have a young core. I mean, other than CJ, but that core is still relatively young. I mean, they're not rookies, but they're young.
Murphy, Herb Jones, yeah, those guys are young.
Yeah, these guys are young. So I think we all echo the same thing. I think we all think the NBA is in great hands. All of these teams, the New Orleans Pelicans are up and coming, but Detroit, OKC, the Cavs, the Cavs have a young nucleus that they're going to be around for a long time. The Houston Rockets have a young, team that's going to be around. So, if you had to guess, how many wins do the Pistons get this year? Because I'm going to say maybe they can get to 30.
Yeah, I was going to say like 30, mid-30s at their highest, I would say.
Mid-30s?
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking they're like a 33-win team.
Yeah.
But I think there'll be lots of flashes of them. Lots of flashes that will excite us for the future.
Yeah.
So, excluding the Pelicans, since they already made the playoffs last year, let's just talk about the Pistons, the Thunder, the Rockets. We'll throw the Cavs in there since they didn't actually make the playoffs last year, and then the Magic. Out of those 5 teams, who do you think makes the playoffs first?
Cavs. Yes.
The Cavs are another team where I actually had issues with them this offseason, but they're young, so I can see that. Give me the list again, please. Pistons.
Cavs, Pistons, Magic, Thunder, Rockets.
Cavs, Pistons, Magic, Thunder, Rockets. Yeah, it's got to be the Cavs.
Yeah. What about second?
Second,
just interested to see how, where you guys think these teams are going to be in 2 years.
Honestly, the second one for me is probably the Pistons.
Okay.
I would say Houston.
Wow, that's weird. I was going to lean Thunder, so we're all kind of thinking in different directions.
Okay. I was going to go Thunder for 3. I was going to go the Pistons 4.
Damn, you just said you were so high on them.
I am high on them. I think I like their young. I like their young pieces. I
We need a
really
playoff
like what
berth.
they got going on down. Like I really like what they got going on.
Me too. We need to make the playoffs within the next 3 years, though.
Oh, we will. Don't
I
worry
think it
about
can
it.
happen. I think play in. You got baby steps. Make the play in first.
Play in maybe in 2 years in
Play
2024.
in 3 years. Play in 3 years.
Oh
And
no,
then,
we need to skip one of these years.
There'll be. I think 2024. There'll be. Not what the fuck is next season? 22, 23?
22,
Yeah.
23, yeah.
Yeah. So by 23, 24, there'll be a playoff team.
Oh, I'll say a
Ooh.
play in. I'll say a play in that year.
Oh, that's so close.
I think Ivy sophomore season they make the play in, but not the playoffs.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, maybe. I
Hey,
mean,
this team is headed in the right direction for the first time in a while, though. So that's all I can ask.
yeah,
for.
absolutely. Yeah, the Detroit, they have something cooking down there.
Yep.
But it ain't been cooking for long. It was at the store, then it was in the freezer, then it waited a long time, a very long time, and now it's getting unthawed, and now it's on the stove now. So
I don't even know if we're on the stove yet.
it's y'all on the stove. It's cooking real slow. It's on a 110. It's on a 110.
Y'all remember that one Chef Boyardee commercial where the girl in the can and she's like, "Mom, can we get Chef Boyardee?" And her mom says the white people version of, "If you don't put that shit down," which is basically being like, "No, honey, we can't have that today." And then she's like, "Oh," and then the can like follows them home, rolls all
Roll all the way to the house. Yeah.
rolls all the way through the street, takes the long way and the back roads, and then she finds the can. She's like, "Mom, look!" And her mom like, I told you to put that shit back." That's the cooking analogy here.
I love how I knew what the white version was before you even said it.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is, though.
No, honey, not today.
Right.
No, honey, not tonight. I mean, wow. Chaz, though, like, I got a bone to pick with you real quick.
Yeah.
Like, you remember, like, it was a long time ago. You remember, like, I'm gonna bring it up because I like bringing up old stuff. You remember how you said, I really want to know this, though. You remember how you said there was no pressure on KD to win another title if Steph won?
Oh my God.
Do you still feel the same? No, I really want to. Do you feel the same way after this season?
I mean, to people that are always going to compare them, yeah, there's going to be pressure. But to Kevin Durant himself, I don't think there should be.
No, to you. Do you think
to me, there's not. To me, there's not.
To you, there's no pressure on Kevin Durant to win a title outside Golden State.
No, because to me, once you've reached that level, you're solidified. But I mean, to the national media, as an all-time great.
Yeah, he was all-time great before he went to Golden State.
I mean, to me, I guess, but when you're all-time great with one ring, it's a little different. Once he added that championship, to me, there's not much else. I mean, he can continue to solidify his legacy. He can, regain a lead over Steph. He's obviously not as good as Steph all-time now. So, I mean, but to me, is that pressure or is it just something that he could, accomplish? I think to the national media, it is pressure, but to Kevin Durant, I don't think there is.
I just don't know how you make the argument. I mean, obviously Steph's the champ. They're the champs right now. I just don't know how you make an argument over any list under any circumstances that KD is over Steph. But I also
Steph is definitely ranked higher now.
But I also think that I said it a long time ago. I said it before they won a title. I said if Steph wins a title, and there was a lot of firsts for him, Finals MVP, All-Star game. I mean, there was a lot of first Magic Johnson, Western Conference player, winner, whatever. There was a lot of firsts for him. So I'm like, you have to, if I'm Kevin Durant, I have to, if it's just me, I have to prove that I can win a title outside of this man. What accomplishments other than winning one MVP has Kevin Durant, other than winning the scoring titles? Other than winning an MVP, what has Kevin Durant done outside of Steph Curry?
I just want you to repeat what you just said back to yourself.
Outside of winning one MVP?
You took
outside
away
of winning, first of all, we're not going to act like winning an MVP is something to just scoff at, or winning scoring titles is something to scoff at.
I mean,
Or being All-NBA
Jokic has
player.
won a lot of MVPs that I don't think he deserved, but it's okay.
Oh, this is. I'm not doing this today, so
It's the last show.
I mean,
It's the last show of the season. Like I gotta, I gotta bring this stuff up to get people aroused. Like, come on, like
I'm not doing it.
Nicole Jokic. Like, I'm just
done.
saying, Chaz. Like, to you, there's no
oh,
pressure.
he was. To me, there's not. I mean, I think he's a 10-time All NBA player, 12-time All Star or something. Like, I mean, you mentioned I think what is it, 4 or 5 scoring champs, the 1 MVP.
Mhm.
I mean, even if you take away those, you take away his championships. I mean, you're taking away the stuff that he's accomplished. But I mean, he still is an all-time great player. So to me, there's no pressure on him. For him, I don't think he's putting pressure on himself to catch Steph Curry. But for sure, the majority of people, the majority of NBA media, there's definitely pressure.
I think what Steph did this season, it put a lot to rest, but also no matter what else he does in his career, like it's a wrap. I mean, he did it. Like, this was by far the most oppressive run for him in the NBA Finals, winning a championship, winning the Finals MVP, the route that he took, who he did it without. Yeah. So no matter what Kevin Durant, to me at this point in time, do without Steph, like, I don't see how you could put him above. But even if, let's play devil advocate, we know it's not happening. I don't think it will ever happen. But hypothetically, if he rejoined Golden State, like, what would that mean for him? Like, that means you come crawling back to them.
I just
mean,
hope
that would be the narrative for sure.
That would be the narrative.
That doesn't happen, because I just think in that scenario, nobody ends up being happy.
Yeah.
Well, Kevin Durant's not happy anywhere he goes. So let's call it what it is. Like, yeah. He ain't happy nowhere. I really believe he has something like personal, like he has personal issues that he can't find genuine happiness, like in the stuff that he loves. He loves playing basketball. That's why he always saying, like, I just want to hoop. Like, he loves doing this. Like, it's something that's going on deeper than he's letting people know. But obviously, that's his personal business. But he's not happy anywhere. Like, how could you not be happy anywhere you go? Like, that's a problem, like, in your, like, internally, that you don't want to deal with.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that separates Durant from Curry, is that Steph doesn't seem to care what anybody thinks, and Durant seems to care pretty much what everybody does. And I think once you're at that level, you shouldn't. I mean, you go out there, you put the best team around you, and you try and win a championship every year, but you shouldn't be looking at yourself, how do I compare to these guys? Or if I go here, how are they going to affect my legacy? I don't think you need to be worrying about that stuff if you're in the moment. Like, to me, that's stuff that the media should worry about. But if you're actually just trying to accomplish your goals, then I don't think you need to worry about that type of stuff.
I'm putting both of you on a hot seat. Yeah. Going into next season, who are your top 5 players in NBA? In order.
In order?
All right. Chaz, you go first.
All right, let me get them out there first, then put them in order. But it's definitely Giannis, Steph, Jokic, KD, and
Embiid?
That last,
Embiid?
To me, that last spot is either LeBron, Embiid, or Luka. But
okay, go ahead and rank them.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been saying since the beginning of last season that I think those top 7 are on a tier of their own. But I don't know. Right now, I'd probably go Giannis 1. I guess I'll go Steph 2. I don't know. Would you guys have Steph 2?
I would.
Yeah.
You guys both have Giannis 1 as well?
Yes. I will. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Giannis, Steph is probably the right 1, 2. And then I guess I'm going to go KD. Man, I'm really struggling with LeBron because he could be anywhere from about 4 to 7 to me. So
I'm going to say I don't think right now LeBron's a top 5 player.
I think that's crazy. All right.
I know you would.
I think he was when he was healthy last year, but
I think going into next season, I don't think he will be a top 5 player.
I'm going to keep him at 5. I'm going to go KD 3, Jokic 4, LeBron 5, Embiid 6, Luka 7 for now.
Great. I'm going to go Giannis 1, LeBron 2, Steph 3. We'll go KD at 4.
Ron is 2. Okay.
Jokic 5.
And we'll go with Jokic 5. They are not. None of them are separated by a lot. The gaps are very small. So
Oh yeah.
You have LeBron at number 2.
I do. Yeah.
Are you surprised, Danny?
No, I'm not. You
you
can't be surprised. You can't be surprised.
You act like it's like you didn't average 30 points a game on
He's
like
your favorite player. You can't be
on like
surprised.
57% shooting last year. But anyways,
I would have been biased if I said Steph Curry is the best player in the NBA.
it's your turn, Danny. It's your turn.
All right, I got Giannis 1A. I got Steph 1B.
You couldn't say 2.
Steph one- I mean, if you had me honestly, if you told me to put my feet to the fire, I will go Steph 1. If you told me to put my feet to the fire, I will go Steph 1. I will go Giannis 2.
You don't want to put Jokic, do you?
No, I'm putting Jokic in there.
At 3?
I don't think he's better than KD though.
Yeah.
KD 3, Jokic. Ooh, Jokic over. Jokic 4.
So you have Jokic over Embiid now.
I think so. Yeah.
Is Embiid 5 or you got LeBron or Luka then?
Oh, they're not better than LeBron. Let me stop capping.
Embiid and Luka at 6 and 7, LeBron 5.
LeBron 5. Yeah, they're not better than LeBron, but
Yeah, I agree.
yeah. But that's hard though. Like just ranking these players. Obviously, to me, I think they're all in. I mean, I think I saw a report like LeBron was like 7 somewhere. Like he was in like a different tier than all these other guys.
To me, he's still in that same tier to me.
But I think I think to me clearly, he's not better than he's not better than Giannis, or he's not better than Steph. He's not better than, to me, like right now, I don't think he's better than those guys. I mean, to me, Durant still have a little more to prove, especially what just happened in the playoffs. So I can't give him that pass over, LeBron. And y'all know how I feel about that. I don't think KD has ever been better than LeBron up until recently, like this year. Like other people was like, he's been better than LeBron. Nah, bullshit.
But you would have him ahead of him now?
Right now, barely, yeah. Just because, like, I mean, KD made the playoffs. He got swept, but LeBron didn't even make the playoffs, and you gotta hold them accountable for that. Obviously, to me, it's not even LeBron's fault at all. It was all a Westbrook problem, but still, I got to give you the benefit of the doubt. Kevin Durant, although he did struggle, he definitely struggled. I still have to give him that little edge.
So it is the question for both you guys. Is LeBron the likeliest to be out of that top 5 a year from now?
No, I don't think LeBron's slowing down at all.
So who do you think, like, let's say Luka or Embiid are like consensus top 5 next season? Who's most likely to be out?
That's tough.
Because
I would say it's LeBron because it would be year 20.
Yeah, if you're saying that, yes. If you're saying that, yeah.
Sure.
It'd probably have to be LeBron or maybe Durant if you think a slight drop off is coming. But
if you put Luka and Embiid in, yeah, I would take LeBron out.
That's very possible. To me, Luka is 7 right now, but if you tell me, he's 3, in the winter, I wouldn't put it past him. I think he's got a good shot. I think Embiid is my early MVP favorite. So, I think both of those guys have a very good shot to be in that top 5 next season.
I think if Luka comes, he looked healthy.
He looked in shape.
Yeah, he looked in shape. But I think to me, I'm probably going to shock y'all, but I think LeBron should go into next season as the favorite for MVP. Like,
really?
Yeah, I think he should be favorite. I think he should be slightly favored over Curry.
Like your favorite or like odds?
I think he's my favorite. I think he should be the favorite next year.
Got you.
I think he should be slightly favored over Curry. I think that man's gonna come back on a mission.
Yeah, me too.
I missed the playoffs. Fuck that. Like, I'm on a personal mission. People talking all this shit in the offseason. All right. That's literally how I think LeBron attitude is. Like, y'all talking all this shit in the offseason. Y'all doing all this. Watch what I do.
Yeah.
So I think he's going to be on a mission. The question is, can he stay healthy? What's the team around him looking like? He's going to pass Kareem next year. So that's going to give a boost. And I think he's going to pass Kareem next year. That's going to give him a boost in MVP votes, maybe. The story, the MVP is about narrative. Like, he passed this, he did this, he put the team on his back. He's going to have a good story for next year. And, that's what it's about. But if the Warriors come out blazing, Steph taking that MVP home. The Warriors come out blazing next year? Yeah. They were both in the MVP and Durant. They were both in the MVP running all three were in the MVP running last year until they started to get hurt and all that. But
yeah, LeBron has been in the conversation the last 2 years before he went down with his injury. So I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
I would expect him to be right in that conversation again this year.
Yeah, absolutely.
I did have a couple more questions for you guys. If
go ahead.
Got a few extra minutes. I was just thinking about things. What would you guys say is more likely to happen for Donovan Mitchell? Do you think it's a trade to Miami, New York, or that he stays put in Utah? At least for the beginning of the season.
New York.
Knicks this offseason, you think is the most likely?
Miami.
Okay. How about Kevin Durant? What's more likely? Kevin Durant is traded to a new team and they make the finals, or he stays with Brooklyn and they make the finals?
Stays with Brooklyn and they make the finals.
He goes to a new team and they make the finals. With the caveat.
Yeah.
The thing that I'm not struggling with it, but the Brooklyn want assets. The best package, and I told you, the best package available is from Golden State. Golden State can offer Brooklyn everything they want.
I think New Orleans would have the best package.
No.
You don't think so?
No. They don't have the draft capital that Golden State have. No.
I think New Orleans has most of their upcoming picks, right? And they would get Brandon Ingram, who would be a better player than anybody that Golden State could offer right now.
So I don't know.
Yeah. Yes, I mean, right now.
Look, he's hating on Wiggy. He hating on Wiggy again.
Oh, Wiggins is
there
not. Wiggins is
no. Brandon
Ingram. All-Star game, Andrew Wiggins.
Wiggins is a top 40, 45 player. Brandon Ingram's top probably 20.
All-Star game, Andrew Wiggins. Yes. Stop hating on Wiggins.
They don't even play comparable roles. We've seen what primary creator scorer Andrew Wiggins. And we've seen what primary creator scorer Brandon Ingram looks like.
Andrew Wiggy. Stop hating on Wiggins, man.
No.
Put him with Poole.
Fuck out of here.
Wiggins. All the pieces. Stop hating on Andrew Wiggins. All-Star game, Andrew Wiggins.
He'll probably never be in the All-Star game.
Stop hating on Andrew Wiggins. Y'all hating on Andrew Wiggins. He a champion. He a made man. All-Star game.
Shout out to Andrew Wiggins for sure.
He a defensive stopper. Stop hating on Wiggy. Sure. Stop hating on Wiggy. Especially you, Tunde. Stop hating on Wiggy.
I'm not
hating. No.
All right, I got a couple more. What about we already talked about young cores. What about the Knicks? Is it more likely they're eliminated in the play-in or the second round?
Oh, that's good.
That's a good one.
I love how we're just operating under the pretense that this is not.
That's a good one, though.
That's a really good one.
Go ahead, Tunde. I'll let you go first.
No, because I think the most likely is a first-round exit, but I want to see which.
I'm leaning towards first-round exit too.
I said play-in.
Take that out. Take that first round out.
You just told me Jalen Brunson was that dude. Like that.
Yeah, I think so player, too. That doesn't mean the roster.
You can't make this up.
I do think Jalen Brunson is that dude. That doesn't mean they won't have other problems.
He's not good enough to get them into the playoffs and go home in the first round.
It's not even a Jalen Brunson thing. It's that Tom Thibodeau is still the head coach and he's not going to play.
Blame the coach. Tibbs, they blame you again, Tibbs.
Tibbs refuses to play rookies and young players and people who weren't members of the 2011 Chicago Bulls. So,
I love this show.
Tunde, when you answered that question for the Knicks getting knocked out in the play-in, are you operating under the circumstances that they would be adding Mitchell like you expected?
No, that was me operating under the pretext that it'll be the same roster that there currently is.
Let's say they add Mitchell. What's the ceiling for that team?
If they have Mitchell, ceiling is probably second round.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, to me, it's not really, it doesn't say much about the Knicks. It more says about the other teams in the Eastern Conference. I mean, in order to get to the second round, that means you're going to have to beat one of the Bucks, Celtics, 76ers, or Heat, I would assume. Maybe Nets, somebody else is in there, but you're probably going to have to get by one of those teams. And I like the Jalen Brunson pickup, but to me, it doesn't get them clear, by one of those teams.
Yeah, exactly.
Fair enough.
I think Jalen Brunson is a pull-up three ball away from being an all-star. And by a pull-up three ball, I mean like him being an active, pull-up three shooter in like the pick and roll.
Yeah.
So many caveats for him. There's so many caveats for him.
I think it's possible he's an all-star.
Caveats. It's like stuff. This is me offering a thing about his game that needs to improve. I'm talking basketball here.
Hey, with him being the number one primary ball,
angry, bro.
I'm not. It's not anger.
Go ahead.
Oh, last one I got. It's been 1 year since Giannis scored the 50-14 in Game 6 to clinch his first championship. So my question is, was that the greatest closeout game in the finals history?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Why are you doing this to us, Chaz?
I looked up a couple, just to see kind of what else he was going against. I think the number one that kind of people view it as is Magic Johnson. 1990, his rookie season when he stepped in for Kareem. What did he go? He went for 42, 15, and 7. But to me, Giannis is right, in that same conversation.
I don't think he is.
I'm gonna say no, actually, and I'm gonna go with the one that I think is underrated, which is Tim Duncan's near quadruple double in 2000.
I had that. Yeah, I had that number 2. Yeah, 20.
I would say both of them. I would actually take both of them over Giannis.
Yeah, I think I probably would too.
I would take both of them over Giannis.
But you think is Giannis probably in that top 5?
He's definitely in the top 5 for sure.
Yeah, to me, like I kept trying to find a couple. He was better than any Michael Jordan closeout game. LeBron arguably in 2016, 27, 11, and 11.
No.
But to me, Giannis is better than that. The Tim Duncan one, 21 points, 20 rebounds. 10 assists, 8 blocks against the Nets in 2003, Game 6. That's insane. So to me, it's Magic, Tim, Duncan, and then probably Giannis 3.
I will agree with that order.
Yeah, I mean,
I think I'd have Giannis too in the Magic Game 3, but like they're all great games. We're splitting hairs.
Absolutely.
Hey, shout out one more that I found too was Walt Frazier. In the Willis Reed game, he ended up with 36, 19 assists and 7 boards to close out in Game 7. So I think Walt Frazier is probably one of the more underrated ones too that people don't talk about a lot.
Yeah,
that's fair. That's absolutely fair. Any more questions?
No, that was it for me.
Oh man, it's been 30 episodes, yo.
Yeah, season coming to an end. It was a great season.
The NBA season has come to an end. First of all, I would like to thank you guys for doing this podcast and this show. You guys make this thing go. The people that watch us every week. You guys are the reason why we do this, like the content that we want to produce. We all have individual lives. We all have a lot going on. We all are working hard at what we do. But we do this, first of all, because we love it. Second of all, is you guys keep us doing it. You keep us motivated to doing it. Is there anything that you guys would like to say?
No, I'm really looking forward to next season. I mean, this is kind of the, tough part of the off season where there's not a lot going on, but, before we know it, it's going to be preseason ball and, we're going to be getting ready for the regular season to get going. So I'm excited for that for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Appreciate it. It's been real. Thanks for listening to all of you out there. Good shit.
All right, guys, we will be back. I mean, is it October?
Yeah, regular season starts in October. Training camp will be maybe 6 weeks before that or so?
Yeah. But you guys will probably be seeing us before that. But we are taking a little break from doing this. It can be exhausting. I know for me, I can't speak for them, but I know what a lot of stuff that I have going on, it can be exhausting. Not doing this personally, but with everything going on, a lot of people don't want to do a lot of shit lately, or what's going on. A lot of people don't want to do a lot of stuff, but this is the fun part of my day, other than going out and covering the stuff that I have to cover. But I come home and be able to do this with y'all. Absolutely fantastic. Like, I enjoy it every single second. Even though we don't agree Tunde a lot, it makes for good content. Absolutely. That's it. All right. Thank you guys for joining us for this season of the Spoken True podcast. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing to our podcast on Spotify and YouTube. All you got to do is type in Spoken True podcast in your search engine. I go by the name of Denny.
I'm Chaz.
And I'm Tunde.
And it's been real. 30 for 30. Yeah, check. Steph Curry, 30 for 30. Let's go.